I'm Mabel Jung, and you're watching continuing coverage of the World Healthcare Congress here in Washington, D.C. And a very special welcome to our attendees that are watching our content virtually. In the studio right now is Leonard Achan, who is working at Hospital for Special Surgery, and he is here to talk a little bit about focus versus knowledge. Thank you so much for your time today, Lenny.
Thank you.
Well, I probably didn't lead that quite right, but you have a focus right now on something called focus versus the knowledge factory.
That's right.
What is that?
Sure. So HSS, for a very long time, since its founding, has been a musculoskeletal health focus factory. So when you think about the world we live in today and mergers and acquisitions, consolidation of organizations, HSS is unique in that it has remained focused since the 1800s on musculoskeletal health diseases. So we're a focus factory. So imagine for a minute how specialized that is for all of that time with a long history of innovation to have that knowledge and know-how, that expertise. And how do you codify that? How do you bring all of that data, that knowledge, those algorithms together to then complement the focus factory or the musculoskeletal health specialized institution, which is number one at what they do, into a knowledge factory? How do you help the rest of the world? How do you help not only the United States, but in a timeless way, the rest of the globe in understanding musculoskeletal health issues and transitioning through innovation our knowledge, creating products, creating services, taking best practices and algorithms, innovating new devices and technologies, drug discovery, or digital platforms and care delivery devices that ultimately could help somebody who may not only not step foot into the United States, but never have the opportunity to step foot into HSS. So our model is changing to share that with the world because we are a focus factory and the best at what we do.
Well, it seems like changing, yes, and also really drilling in on the innovation side of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you are actually the first dedicated Chief Innovation Officer for
Sure,
HSS?
Administratively, absolutely.
Yes.
I've got a great partner, medical director, Dr. Bob Hotchkiss with me there at HSS. This is a real charge from the Board of Trustees and our CEO to really look at our model and, as part of our mission, and it's always been part of our mission to continuously share that knowledge. So how do you do that through commercialization? How do you do that understanding shared economics? And how do you change and complement a business model from just a provider with a huge reputation and an unbelievable amount of experience to amplifying, scaling, and building repeatable processes to move the innovations inside out, as well as work with partners outside in to amplify innovation.
And how far are you taking the innovation in terms of investing in technology and really bringing technology into the fold?
It's a great question. So there's, our model's unique. There's lots of different models out there in the provider world. You see a lot of innovation centers or institutes set up with venture arms that make investment in companies. And we like to think that, well, not even like to think, it's part of our mission and charge. We don't make financial investments in companies per se. We do make them in our own companies after they hit a milestone, but let's say we buy sweat equity, we buy knowledge equity. We will work with a partner from outside the entrepreneurial community. That could be a startup, a mid-stage, or even a publicly traded company to come in, embed an idea or concept into our enterprise, and then infuse it with HSS knowledge to then push it back out into the community and scale and amplify it in the healthcare scope. So, investment categories are looked at differently. A lot of organizations have lots of different models. There's no right or wrong to it. It's just depending on what that institution needs and what the strategic vision of that organization is. For us, we want to take it as far down the value chain as we can before releasing that product. So we do inside out, which are inventors and our physicians and staff and scientists who create something within the institution and then will continuously add value to it before commercializing it with a partner or even standing up or spinning out our own company. Or we'll look to the entrepreneurial community who's got a great question to resolve something and say, hey, you know what? We're going to humble ourselves for a minute. Come on in. Let's co-develop this together. Develop it, perfect it, make it better, and then push it back out into the community.
Well, now, if we were to check in again next year at this time, what will have been worked on over this? What's your focus?
Right.
going
So
forward?
in 2016, for example, we were able to put an infrastructure in place to execute HSS's first drug discovery deal ever. The Innovation Center, which is now becoming an Innovation Institute, has run a clinical trial. So we did our first phase 1 IND clinical trial, which is usually done within the research division, but the thing about innovation at HSS is everybody owns it. It's not just like a department. Our role is to complement, amplify, and assist all of the other divisions. So we ran that. We've done about 7 licensing deals and worked with 6 early stage companies with developing models in shared economics. I suspect that 2017 will, far surpass that. We will do a few different devices and licensing deals. We have a couple of announcements to make over the next few months, 2 with publicly traded companies and 5 or 6 with independent and startup private companies. So I think that you'll see us continue to grow the Institute, continue to experiment, learn, and then share with the community our best practices, as well as learn from the rest of the healthcare community, because we're all trying to figure this out right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Your analysis and comments are probably in demand all year long from other organizations. Why choose to present at the World Healthcare Congress?
I think it's an unbelievable opportunity to share not only what we're doing, but I find that when sharing anything that we're doing, because it's iterative learning and experimental, it also helps me, right? So engaging with an audience, sitting on panels with colleagues from other environments, it just helps you think, it helps you self-reflect, it helps you question whether or not some of the strategies you're doing are right, or if you could borrow from them or share with them. So I think it's just a great forum that's been created as an ecosystem to share ideas, especially for what we're doing here today.
Great. Lenny, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your comments.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
And thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Much more content to come.